The layout of the sewers is extremely simple, so you don't need to worry about getting lost either. I got lost the first time, joke's on you, Shara. Across the street in the Orb factory, there are two people behind a counter. The NPCs in this, when they're standing still, walk in place. I just think that this game is lovely because there's so much nostalgia for older RPGs, even if I am sort of not old enough to have played older RPGs very much. Anyway, there are cabinets and counters all over the place in this shop. I'm neatly organized, but they're obviously showing just an array of gizmos and gadgets. So Shara speaks. Here's where you will learn how to use an Orb factory services. At an Orb factory, you can modify your orbments and synthesize support quartz in order to use Orb arts. Arts have a wide range of effects, and if mastered, can be extremely helpful. The Bracer business is a pretty risky occupation, so the guild has had a long-standing relationship with these Orb factories. Anyway, this is about as much as I can explain. I'll leave the technical details to the expert. So, Mr. Melders, if you wouldn't mind taking over from here. Mr. Melders! What a cute name. No problem. Leave everything to me. So, what is it that you would like to know about? And there's some choices. I think that the best way to do it is just go in order. Orbments. Orbments are mechanical devices which exhibit an array of effects through the installation of various types of quartz. By definition, that means that lights, airship engines, and so on are also types of orbments. However, the ones we'll be discussing today are battle orbments, which enhance the user's physical abilities and make it possible to use magic. Since each orbment is adjusted to match the owner's personal aptitude, the structures for each of these devices also differ for each owner. Simply put, the shape of the fixed elemental slots and lines which connect them will vary. At any rate, that's the layman's explanation. In order to install quartz, you must first have an open slot. By default, the central slot is open, but the other slots must be opened at an Orb factory like this. It'll take a fair amount of sepith too. EP, which is needed for magic, will also see a max increase according to the open number of slots. I recommend opening them all as soon as possible. Alright, so since he mentioned sepith, we'll just see what that is. That's what's required to open slots. Sepith are fragments of septium, which are dropped by monsters. They're divided into 7 types. I'll read those out when we see them on the screen. Sepith can be exchanged for Mira almost anywhere, but at the Orb factory, it can be used to synthesize quartz and to open orbment slots in which to install the synthesized quartz. Orbal arts. Simply put, Orbal arts are magic which can be discharged exclusively through the use of battle orbments. In other words, a number of peculiar effects can be produced by using the Orb Energy stored within these mechanical devices. Since Orbal arts can be a mouthful, they are almost universally referred to as arts. Probably ought to have called it that from the get-go. There are several types of arts, but in order to be able to use them, their corresponding quartz must first be synthesized at an Orb factory. Orbments are also set up so that once a particular quartz is installed into a slot, the owner will be able to use those arts. The type of arts one can use also changes depending on the elemental value and the combination of installed quartz. I'll explain that, that's annoying. Basically, just kidding, it's not annoying, it's actually really interesting. Basically, if you want to use water arts, all you have to do is install quartz with a water elemental value. In reality, orbments are much more complex than what I have described, but I think this information should suffice for now. Alright, give me this quartz, that's the last option. Quartz are circuits made from sepith. Quartz have a vast number of effects and raise the owner's ability, while simultaneously making it possible for them to use arts. However, you will not be able to harness any of these effects until quartz has been installed into a slot. However, there are also fixed slots in which only a certain type of elemental quartz can be installed. This being the case, when you synthesize a new quartz, be sure to check your orbment and decide where you'll be installing it ahead of time. Alright, and I'll explain this all in layman's terms, even more. It looks like Mr. Melders has answered all your questions. If there's nothing else, then let's have you both try and use the services here. For that, you're going to need some sepith. Receive several of each type of elemental sepith. I love feeling things for free. With that amount, you two should be able to synthesize a few quartz. Now I want you to begin by first making an elemental quartz that will work with each of your particular orbments. In your case, Estelle, any elemental quartz is okay, but for you, Joshua, it has to be a time elemental quartz. So we have Freddy, the other guy at the counter, what's up? We can go to modify trade. So basically, if we look over here on the left, I'm gonna use my cursor so that you can follow it if you're looking at the screen. So we have 7 different types of Sepith. Again, there are 7 elements in this game world. So we have earth, water, fire, wind, you know, your classic, your avatar. And then we have time, space, and mirage. And those will get explained later in a lot more detail. But basically what's sort of interesting to know is I think there's a sort of like astrology that you can do based on the fixed slots that people have. So it is significant that Joshua has a time slot in the center, but I'll talk more about that later. Slot. Also, Estelle has no fixed slots. It's awesome. We don't have enough to open a slot, but you can see that she has this unique configurations, different from Joshua's. Even though they have 6 slots, you can just see that the lines are in a little different places. Basically, what we're working with is quartz is circuits made of Sepith, and when you use an orbment and plug them together, you can recreate macro circuits of different size. And it's basically, I mean, the interesting thing about it is supposed to be lossless pseudo-electrical energy. So we have a few different types of quartz that we can make. You can see that they're assigned to different elements based on their color. What we're going to make for Joshua, since he has that time-locked slot in the middle, is we're going to make the one that is time. So this, you can see on the bottom of the screen, I can't actually wave over it without going off of the actual element, but if you look at this bottom blue bar, it says what element it is, what the elemental value is, so it's just 1 for time, and then also if it gets you a stat boost, if it gets you any arts that are particular to it, things like that. I think in Sky it's mostly stat boosts. Okay, whatever. Anyways, so it increases your speed by 10%. So synthesize that, a very satisfying noise. And then I think for Estelle, I'm trying to remember what's actually required of this part, but I'm going to make her a water one. That's not how I say it. A water one of HP 1. So it's going to increase her max HP, which is health points or hit points, depending on the game. It has an elemental value of 1. Okay. And then what we do is if we go to our camp menu, there's an orbment screen. So it looks very much like the one that's in the shop. You can see the orbment face. So if we put in the HP 1, you can see that she gets a couple of orbital arts just because they both have an elemental value of 1. If you look at that bottom blue bar to see what the equivalency is. So now she has an art she can use in battle to heal, actually out of battle too, which I didn't know until the 3rd time I played, which is so stressful. It heals 200 hit points for an ally, and then she also has this one that's an attack art. Shoots heavy stream of water at enemies. And if we find Joshua's, you can see it says time quartz only, so you don't have to look extra. He gets 2 orbital arts, so he gets one that is a speed boost during battle and as a support, and then one that is an attack that has a 20% chance to cause somebody to faint, but also just as an attack, so definitely damages HP. Cheryl laid on me. Oh, so you finished installing your quartz, have you? Since you have both recovery and attack arts set up, it appears to me you don't need any more instruction about how to do this task. Oh, she was definitely going to say you need to set up these. Anyways, I think that it actually skipped through some dialogue because we installed them a little early. If you balance out your arts between each other like you've done here, it should make dealing with monsters much easier. Additionally, your Bracer notebooks contain information about which quartz allow you to use which arts. If you'd like to use more powerful arts, check out the arts and quartz charts in your Bracer notebooks and find something that works for you. Alright, our training here is almost finished. Last of all, I'm going to have one of you open a new slot in your orbments. The more slots you have available to you, the broader range of choices you'll have. Since EP, which is consumed by using arts, can have its max value increased by opening up slots, it would be a good idea to open them all early on. Now, I want you to use the Sepith and open a slot on each of your orbments. Give me more Sepith! Okay, I think that we can only open 1, honestly. So, I'm gonna say Estelle, because I feel like, so she as a character is a good all-rounder. I see you've managed to open one of your orbment slots, Estelle. Since your central slot is not limited to a particular element, you are free to install any type of quartz you like. This concludes your training here at the Orbital Factory. Now it's time to move on to what you've both been waiting for, the qualification test. So she does a little bit here that I'm skipping because why, about how she forgot the test again. Anyways, here's how it ends because it's better. How about a little less yapping and a little more walking? Cher drags her out. Joshua, help me. Joshua's standing there with a thought bubble. Then he turns to the people behind the desk. Mr. Melders, Freddie, thank you for all your help. Melder says don't mention it. And good luck with that test of yours. We'll be rooting for you, Freddy says. I'm going to remember that you left me high and dry like this, Joshua. Obviously, we're going to a tutorial dungeon. It's going to the sewers. I feel like this is a weird thing to make kids do, but, you know, whatever. I'm not a teacher. Anymore. Shara! All your training has finally come down to this. Your qualification test will begin here. I expect to see you both use what you've learned up to this point. Understood. Estelle's making the surprise Pikachu face. And looks around. Joshua's a question mark. What's wrong, Estelle? Shara? What now? I was kind of wondering, but is there not going to be a paper test or something? Did Cassius drop you on your head as a child or something? You just read what it said on the bulletin board not that long ago, right? Yeah, and? She said like an improv girl, yes, and? And I even made you jot down what you read in your Bracer notebooks. Unless you forgot that too. I'm pretty sure the job listing mentioned searching for and retrieving an item from the sewers. Ringing any bells yet? What a relief. There's a sparkle. Again, this is just an everyday RPG that I've seen, which is not many, but they do the little Animal Crossing reacts over their heads. Estelle, O divine Adios. I give thanks to thee for thy infinite grace in bestowing upon us such wonderful gifts as sewers. So what you're really saying is that you thought it was a paper test? No wonder you were acting all crazy back at the Orb factory. Joshua, don't call women crazy. Ah, I can already feel the nostalgia. All those horrible days stuck in a classroom are starting to feel like grand memories indeed. I'm really starting to wonder if we'll even be able to graduate at all. What's wrong with you? Why do you have to go and say something like that when I'm trying to reminisce about positive things? Alright, that's enough jabbering, you two. This is supposed to be a test, so how about the both of you try to at least look a little anxious? Ah yes, mental unwellness. Just so you know though, if you do happen to flunk the test, you don't even want to imagine the kind of homework I have in store for the both of you. Haha, we'll be fine. Just tell us what you want us to do and let us loose. Well, if you're so confident, then how about proving you're not just blowing hot air with the results of your test? Anyway, as you both saw on the bulletin board, this test will be a search conducted in Roland's sewers. Your objective is to retrieve the contents of a chest which has been placed somewhere within that area. The layout of the sewers is extremely simple, so you don't need to worry about getting lost either. I got lost the first time, joke's on you, Shara. However, there are real, living, breathing monsters down there, so if you get careless and let your guard down, you will be sorry. Also, let me give you this before I forget. Received Tier Bomb X3. Received Monster Guide. What's this book for? It's called a Monster Guide, and it's used to record information about monsters and other opponents you meet. Whenever you figure out an enemy's attributes, you should make an immediate note of it in there. Sounds pretty straightforward to me. He who controls the flow of information controls the tide of battle, right? That's in quotes. That's exactly what I'm saying. You've really got a good head on your shoulders, Joshua. That's some pretty useful advice. Thanks for the tip, Shara. We'll put it to good use. Alrighty then, let's get pumped and knock out this test. Let's. Don't forget though, this is an exam. We should make sure we treat it as such. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're having a good time. 1 like equals 1 Mira for Estelle to go back to school. This bitch has many virtues, but math and common sense are not among them. Until next time, happy trails.